Let me tell you an interesting story about a moment in the life of Daniel. Daniel stood at the window of his room, looking out over the rooftops of Babylon. The city was always busy, people buying and selling, children running to the streets, merchants shouting about their goods. But Daniel wasn't thinking about any of that. His mind was on Jerusalem, his homeland. Even though he had lived in Babylon for most of his life, he had been taken as a young man when King Nebuchadnezzar conquered Judah. Now he was old, serving under a new king, Darius of the Medes. Even after all these years, Daniel still prayed to God 3 times a day, just as he had always done. And now, more than ever, he needed an answer. He had been reading the writings of the prophet Jeremiah and saw that God had promised to bring his people back to their land after 70 years. That time was almost up. So Daniel fasted and prayed, asking God to forgive the sins of Israel and fulfill his promise. For days, Daniel humbled himself before God, eating nothing, drinking only water, and wearing rough clothes instead of his usual fine robes. He was determined to seek God's answer. One evening, as Daniel knelt on the floor, his hands lifted in prayer, he felt something was different. It had been 3 weeks since he started praying, and still, there was no answer. Usually, he felt God's presence when he prayed, but now, the silence was heavy. What Daniel didn't know was that, far beyond what human eyes could see, a battle was taking place. The moment Daniel had started praying, God had sent an angel with the answer. But this angel had been stopped by a powerful spiritual being, the Prince of Persia. This was not a human prince, but a fallen angel, an enemy of God, who ruled over the Persian kingdom in the spiritual realm. For 21 days, the angel fought to break through. Then, something changed. Another angel, the mighty archangel Michael, came to help. With his strength, the angel was able to break free and finally reach Daniel. Daniel was standing by the Tigris River with some men when it happened. Suddenly, a great light appeared before him. The men with him couldn't see it, but a terrifying presence filled the air, and they ran in fear, leaving Daniel alone. He looked up and saw a man dressed in white linen, with a gold belt around his waist. His face shone like lightning, and his eyes burned like fire. His arms and legs gleamed like polished bronze, and his voice sounded like a great multitude speaking at once. The sight was too much. Daniel fell face down on the ground, his strength completely gone. He felt as if he couldn't even breathe. Then, a hand touched him, gentle but strong. "Daniel, you who are greatly loved," the voice said. "Stand up, for I have been sent to you." Daniel struggled to his feet, trembling. His body felt weak, but he listened. "Do not be afraid, Daniel," the angel continued. "From the first day you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before God, your words were heard, and I was sent to you. But the Prince of Persia resisted me for 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I was able to come to you." Daniel's eyes widened. He had prayed and fasted for 3 weeks, feeling as if his prayers had gone nowhere. But the whole time, a battle had been happening in the unseen world. His prayers had mattered. The angel went on to explain what would happen to Israel in the future. Some things were difficult to understand, but Daniel listened carefully. He knew that what was happening was bigger than him. It was part of God's plan for his people. As the angel spoke, Daniel felt his strength drain again. He could barely stand. But then the angel touched him once more and said, "Do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Be strong now." Immediately, strength returned to Daniel. He straightened his back and nodded. He was ready to listen. The angel finished delivering his message and then said he had to return to the battle, as the Prince of Persia was not the only enemy to face. Soon, the Prince of Greece would come as well. Then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, the angel was gone. Daniel stood by the river, the words still echoing in his mind. He had prayed and fasted for 21 days, unaware of the spiritual battle that had delayed the answer. But now he knew his prayers had not been ignored. God had heard him from the very first day. He walked back toward the city, feeling the strength of God with him. The future of Israel was still uncertain, but Daniel had faith. He knew that no matter what happened, God was in control. Even when prayers seemed delayed, they were not unheard. And so, Daniel continued to pray, just as he always had, trusting that God's timing was perfect. You do not stop praying over a matter because your answer is not coming as quickly as expected. You stop praying when the answer has come. I hope this story inspired you. To encourage us, please subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications bell.